cannibalism is one of society's great taboos, and as such, even in fiction, generally only occurs in the most desperate or extreme of circumstances, like when eating human flesh is the only way to survive, or when the only fatality in Mortal Kombat you can pull off is Melina's. I mean, at least nothing was wasted. So there's no excuse for these folks in video games who turned to cannibalism way before it could have been considered a last resort, chowing down on their fellow humans when frankly everyone else seems to be managing just fine. Seriously you lot, I must have walked past 50 chickens on my way here, so why exactly are you tucking into Steve?
What's going on?
Here are the folks who turned to cannibalism way too fast. Beware spoilers for the following games.
So like I was saying, welcome to Andale. What can the Smith family do for you? It's the best little town there is. We don't have a care in the world here. I mean, honestly, what more do you need to know? Has he been spreading his stories again? Poor guy. I'll just have to have Jack give him a talking to. I really look forward to preparing you for dinner sometime.
It goes without saying that everything gets much harder in the post-nuclear war irradiated wasteland, whether that be getting enough sunlight because now most everyone lives in underground vaults, or keeping occupied when the only pastimes left are collecting garden gnomes and shooting your dad in the head with a BB gun. Well, that killed 4 seconds. But despite the obvious hardships, there is plainly no excuse for the occupants of Fallout 3's wasteland to turn to cannibalism. Not when a single radroach, of which there are millions everywhere, is big enough to feed a family, and in a world where birthday cake still exists. If you can afford to have a robot destroy cake, you can afford not to eat people, as my grandmother always said. There is absolutely no justification then for the practices of the residents of Andale, a seemingly idyllic small town on the outskirts of Fallout 3's playable area.
You're new here, aren't you? Wow.
Here the houses are more or less intact, happy kids play in the yard, and the residents are super welcoming, even to shotgun-wielding strangers who barge in the front door.
Well, hi there. Welcome to Andale. I'm Willie Wilson, though folks just call me Bill. Is there anything I can do for you?
Only one Andale resident seems less chipper about the neighbourhood, grouchy old man Harris, who isn't so much into the Andale spirit as he is into accusing his neighbours of terrible crimes.
They're killers! Every one of them! Run! Get out while you can! Don't believe me, do you? Just check out the basement or that shed!
Knowing the title of this video, it probably won't come as a shock to you what the residents of Andale have been up to in the basement and shed. Here's a clue, it rhymes with practicing cannibalism. Andale's gross secret is revealed in a mess of human guts, bloody carving knives, and fridges rammed with strange meat, which seems needlessly euphemistic considering there's literally a human goddamn skeleton hanging next to this one. Of course, the residents of Andale won't be too happy you stumbled onto their horrifying secret, though if challenged on it, you always have the option of trying to persuade them you're totally cool with it.
Well, that's good to hear, friend. Very good to hear indeed. You wouldn't believe how judgmental some people can be, honestly. All I'm trying to do is keep my family happy and fed. Tell you what, talk to Linda. She'll give you some of her special meat pie. It's to die for. But not you. You're good people.
And what, dare we ask, is the nutritional value of a pie made from human meat? Is it very high, perhaps justifying Andale's sickening culture of cannibalism? Or is it exactly the same as a lump of radroach meat? 5 HP. Have a word with yourself, Andale.
I don't remember it being this far away.
I know, I don't recognize anything. You never made it back without this guy.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is a game set in a world of rampant capitalism and consumption, with a fast food place seemingly on every corner and plenty of shops to pop in and get yourself a snack. So this is probably the last place you'd expect to see folks turning to a more cannibalistic form of consumption, but you'd be wrong. See, Trevor gets a message from his pal Ron that a so-called altruistic cult in the mountains will exchange cash for lost souls and just want them for dinner. Yeah, Ron, I don't think that means what you think it means. You can find plenty of lost souls around Los Santos and the surrounding areas who you can give rides to.
Hey you! Buddy! Can you do us a massive favor? It's the little lady's birthday and we are really f***ed up. Can you drive us back to our motel? Our car's right there.
Sadly for these folks, if you're playing as Trevor, you're given the opportunity to drive them not to their requested destination, but instead to the altruistic camp in the middle of nowhere.
Hey, I think you're taking us too far, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our hotel wasn't up a mountain.
For each person you send, you get a $1,000 reward, but give the cultists enough and eventually they abduct Trevor too, whereupon you discover that, hey, this is a weird baby boomer cult, and yet they probably definitely ate all those people.
We shall be free once more. Altruism, the greatest good for the greatest generation. We shall boom again.
Not okay, boomer. But Trevor is not one to go down easily, sourcing himself a gun and clearing out the entire encampment, hurting them not just with bullets, but also his words.
Your generation ruined everything for everyone.
Once every cultist is down, you can look around to discover weird markings painted everywhere, but, more importantly, 4 briefcases full of money amounting to a grand total of $100,000. Oh my god, you could have bought so many burgers with this. Why did you ask us to bring you people? Still, to be honest, we don't think Trevor feels as guilty about this whole thing as we do.
The brain thing, I mean, what is it? You know? It's not very tasty, right? You got a sizable carcass. You start with the loins first, and then the legs. Far tastier.
Yeah, no, he's fine.
The eponymous Jade Empire from the game, Jade Empire, is a realm filled with fantasy, and yet in this world, the rules of food and drink seem to be basically normal. There's a tea house, for instance.
I am 3 Sheets Duton, proud owner of this quaint little tea house.
Even if some of the dishes on sale here might be a little advanced for our palate. Roasted cow's heart sautéed with bile of leopard. You know what? Pass. I had a big breakfast. That one chef aside, you would assume that in this fantasy world, the only good reason to turn cannibal would be in exchange for unimaginable magic power of some kind. And just have that idea at the back of your mind as we introduce you to the Pilgrim's Rest Inn in the game's Great Southern Forest.
Welcome to the Pilgrim's Rest, traveler.
Pilgrim's Rest appears to be a regular inn full of regular folks, although admittedly everything seems kind of gloomy and the staff will insist on saying things that seem just a little off.
Hello. Welcome to the Pilgrim's Rest, where the patron is the most important part of our business.
Confront the innkeeper about how everything in his horrible inn is freaking you out, and he'll reveal the terrible secret of Pilgrim's Rest, that everyone here has turned to cannibalism. Why? In service of a great demon called the Mother, and in exchange for great power. And here it is.
Gaze upon our forms and bask in our glory.
Oh, you're all golems? Well done.
Intriguing, yes? Such power is hard to resist, is it not?
Yeah, somehow I think I may resist, actually.
Go in. Take whatever you want. Only leave puppets for me.
One tiny upside to living on a space station with half the crew turned into husks by alien life forms is that with no one around to guard their snacks, there's a lot more food and drink to go around. Such is the case for Morgan Yu in 2017's Prey, a game absolutely filled with free snacks. However, when you get to Talos 1's crew quarters cafeteria, Chef William Mitchell isn't keen on sharing anything.
Whoever you are, run. There is no more food here except you.
What do you mean, dude? There are snacks everywhere. Unless... Oh. William doesn't see the possessed crewmates locked outside his kitchen as human anymore, constantly calling them puppets, even after you've killed the local floaty telepath Typhon, thus freeing the crew from its mind control.
Couldn't hide behind your puppets, huh?
In fact, he doesn't seem to have much regard for any of the human lives upon the station, as in order to let you into the safety of the kitchen, he sends you off on a fetch quest to his bedroom, forgetting to mention the electronic inky spaghetti monster between you and said bedroom.
Don't worry about power flickering. Station is just hurting. Keep going.
Don't worry, don't worry. I'll give you don't worry. When you finally get past the monstrous life forms and into the bedroom, you'll find an audio log of Chef Will Mitchell, who, surprise surprise, looks nothing like the bloke in the kitchen.
Well, Morgan said it was all right.
In fact, when William finally lets you into the kitchen, you'll see that the way in is covered in blood.
Wait! A minute.
Yeah, this isn't a good sign. A worse sign, however, is when he lets you get your hands on some goodies in the freezer and... Yep, he locks you in cold storage, but looking around, you discover you're not alone. Not only do you stumble into poor frozen crew member Abigail Foy, but also a box of suspicious meat, which contains the real Will Mitchell's tracking bracelet. Oh dear. Fortunately for you can get out of there pretty easily through a handy-dandy vent. But even after all that, fake Mitchell still tries to blow you up into bite-sized chunks with a booby trap on the way out.
Transtart chunk not go off. And you. Maybe you see it? Avoid it?
His hankering for human flesh must be pretty huge, as the kitchen is well stocked with enough unagi rolls, jellied eels and eel scraps that there's no need to nibble on the Talos One crew. But to be honest, we should have realised something was up when we asked what was in the soup.
If hungry, eat. But that one will. Tastes like eel and something else.
Oh god, brings a whole new meaning to Chef's special. Ugh.
Not many would walk blindly into a crypt, smelling of steel and blood, but not fear. I feel the hunger inside of you, gnawing at you. You see the dead, and your mouth grows wet. Your stomach growls.
There are a lot of weirdos in Skyrim, but pretty high on the ranking would be Aola, a woman who chooses to spend her time hanging out in a tomb beneath the city of Markarth, and is a cannibal in a world where you cannot walk 5 feet without bumping into a delicious goat. Trying to persuade Aola that she may have swerved to cannibalism too soon given the abundance of non-human meat is a fool's errand though, because she won't be persuaded of anything. She won't even be persuaded that you are not a cannibal as well, despite the fact she's just met you and you just told her you are not one.
A lot of our kind block out the memory of their first meal. The shame is too much. But you don't need to hide anymore.
Even telling her very clearly that you want nothing to do with her won't slow Aola's roll. Instead, it starts a quest, the name of which very much implies we're not done with the Skyrim cannibals. Taste of Death. Sounds chill. Follow the quest, because I mean that's what quests are for, and suddenly you're helping Aola clear a cave of Draugr, a cave that turns out to be a shrine to Namira, patron Daedric Lord of Cannibals. Before you know it, Aola has asserted that you are now part of her cannibal coven, and you're in charge of bringing the next sacrifice.
Now we need to prepare a grand feast to welcome you to Namira's coven. You will have the honor of bringing a fresh kill for the main course.
All despite the fact you never actually agreed to any of this. Aola must have put all her points in speech, I guess.
Say hello to Verilus for me.
Bringing Aola her sacrifice means persuading Brother Verilus the priest to come with you, on what he thinks is a treasure hunting expedition in a dangerous tomb. Not that he's worried at all.
Don't worry. Our case protection is absolute.
Is it absolute against a room full of cannibals who are here specifically to dismember and eat you, Verilus? Because that's what it's gonna take.
Who are you? What's going on?
Because it seems Aola's not alone after all, and Skyrim is secretly full of cannibals who want nothing more than to feast on the flesh of their fellow humans. Seems entirely unnecessary. How could anyone get bored of sweet rolls and wheels of cheese? The two best foods.
Ah, the new disciple. I hear you have quite the appetite.
If you don't mind killing and eating a bit of Verilus yourself, you can earn A horrible ring from the Daedric Lord Namira that lets you recover HP when you eat people, and B, the trust of the Coven, who it turns out are all recognisable business owners from around Markarth, although they don't like that fact to be mentioned outside of Cannibal Club.
Don't go talking about that. Only the dinner guests can know.
That said, access to this inner circle isn't much of a reward, bearing in mind that like every cannibal in fiction, the dinner conversation with this lot is basically only cannibal puns.
Did you know I inherited the store from my late husband? Shame what happened to him. He had such good taste.
Right. And have you seen any good films? Or...
They took my boy! My boy!
Who did?
He's missing. He's only a youngster. My boy is missing.
Where? Who took him?
Them people in the hills. Them hills near Hanging Rock. They took it.
We'd be the first to admit that the limited range of culinary options in the Wild West will leave some palates wanting. I mean, we don't know exactly what victuals are, but they sure don't look gourmet. But that doesn't mean it's a good idea to eat people instead. And if you want proof of this fact, look no further than Randall Forrester, a giggling weirdo who you only have to listen to for 1 second to know has never had a good idea in his life.
Thank you, mister.
See? Randall will come into protagonist John Marston's orbit should you pick up the quests around the town of Armadillo to investigate folks who've gone missing under mysterious circumstances, leaving only a puddle of blood and some bone scraps.
My leg!
Slow up.
John catches a break in the case when he finds someone alive with a busted leg. That someone, you'll remember from 30 seconds ago, is cannibal Randall Forrester, but John doesn't know that yet.
What?
He broke my leg. Some city fella. Guy got kind of creepy on me, and then he got violent.
When?
Just now. He ran off that way. Can't have gone too far.
As such, you'll end up unwittingly bringing Forrester his lunch back. At least once you've chased down that lunch, lassoed the lunch, flopped the lunch over your horse's bum, and carted the lunch back to a hungry cannibal. Oops.
You broke this poor fool's leg, mister.
This maniac tried to eat me. We've got cannibals in these here hills. Please help me.
What?
Please. Fella's gotta eat now. Fella's got to eat.
You get to decide whether or not to let Forrester eat the poor stranger or punish him in accordance with the anti-cannibalism laws of 1911. Or at least we assume this is the sentence the law prescribes. We didn't read the charter too carefully.
I've already discussed the matter with the senator.
I take it he was agreeable?
He didn't really have a choice.
Has he been infected?
Oh yes, most certainly. When I mentioned that we could put him on the priority list for the ambrosia vaccine, he was so willing it was almost pathetic.
This plague, the rioting is intensifying to the point where we may not be able to contain it.
Stealth RPG Deus Ex is set in a grim version of the future where society is caught in the grip of a pandemic, and if that sounds a bit depressingly too real, maybe give the real world some credit because at least we're not all eating people too. We're not eating people, right folks? It's not immediately obvious when playing Deus Ex that cannibalism is rife, or even that it could possibly be necessary, seeing as the VersaLife Corporation featured in the game has used its grasp of genetics to invent the Greasel, a small dinosaur that looks frankly delicious. And don't stand there and tell me you wouldn't eat a Karkian, which is what this is, because I would have to call you a liar. There is, however, one small but definitive sign that everyone in Deus Ex is eating people, and that's the candy bar, a common item found lying around or looted off dead enemies.
Feel the view, walk slowly to stay quiet.
Specifically, the item description for that candy bar, which if you look at it in your inventory reads, Choco Lent Dream, it's chocolate, it's people, it's both. And then the trademark sign, as if anyone in their right mind would want to steal that tagline. It's an easily missed but irrefutable bit of proof that people in Deus Ex have turned to eating each other, presumably recycling dead bodies into chocolate, if the clear reference to the movie Soylent Green is anything to go by. What the hell, citizens of Deus Ex? You'll eat each other, but you won't eat a Karkian? He'd eat you. Ah, the circle of life.
So those are some folks who turned to cannibalism way too fast. I mean, come on, they had so many options. In fact, we had a lot of options for this list, so why not pop your suggestions in the comments below, because there are so many examples of this. Oh my goodness, video games are weird, but we love them, which is why we make list videos like this every single week, and we make loads of other stuff on the channel as well, including fabulous tabletop adventures on Outside Xbox, doing D&D, and here we do Blades in the Dark, so why not check those out. Thanks for watching, bye!